Welcome to PD on the Go, the podcast that delivers bite-sized learning on communication, collaboration, and facilitation for busy teacher leaders. Tune in while you're in the car, making copies, or on your lunch break, and get ready to level up your leadership skills. My name is Hallie Case, and I'm with the Office of Professional Learning in Fairfax County Public Schools, and I'm joined today by my colleagues.
Hi, I'm Mary Beth Anderson.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Hazelbeck.
Hello, Erica Williams.
All right, so far on our podcast, we've talked a lot about the communication and collaboration and a little bit less on the facilitating side of things. So we're going to kick off what will be a couple of episodes around facilitation and presenting, and we're going to start with talking about adult learning theory, since we know that teaching and supporting adults is different than teaching and supporting students. So, Mary Beth, why is it so different for teacher leaders to understand the concepts behind adult learning theory?
Yeah, so as teachers, we learn a lot in school or as we're preparing to be teachers, that when we teach students, it's called pedagogy, right? It's the art of teaching children. And it's a little bit different for teaching adults. And Malcolm Knowles back in the 60s came up with this theory around andragogy, which is a fancy word for saying how adults learn. And really thinking about that to grab adults in and get them motivated to learn more, that we need to share the why. And so why is this content important? How can you use it in real world situations and provide that for the adults. So whenever we start a presentation or we're doing PD, we always want to start with the why because we know that's really important.
Yeah, so in that adult learning, adults are coming with a different sort of wealth of background knowledge, right, and understanding, and they have these life experiences and motivation that they're bringing to the table, right? So sharing that why allows them to kind of connect with that. And so there's, in Malcolm Knowles' work, and there's other researchers since the 60s who have expanded on this. We talk about Elena Aguilar a lot, and she has done some work around it. But let's just share, what are some of the other key principles around adult learning theory? Rebecca, what are some things that come to mind for you in addition to the why?
So I think adults really want to be able to solve problems, whatever it is that they're facing in education or whatever it is that they're facing in their careers. They want to leave that professional development opportunity or whatever it is feeling more prepared to be even better than they were when they came in that day. So thinking about what tools you might be able to offer them or what resources that they can take away and utilize. Because I think what adults want is to be able to apply that learning immediately. So whatever you can give them to support them with either action planning and thinking about what their next steps might be so that they can go and they can apply whatever it is that they're learning to fix the problem that maybe they're facing.
It makes me think about also the fact that adults really like to have some autonomy and to be able to make choices and to really decide how it applies to their life and their personal experiences. And so the relevancy of the content to them, to all of us, is really powerful so that we can make some connections and really think about how it applies to our everyday lives. And I also think that them having a choice to grapple with articles. So maybe within the PD or with the professional development or within the meeting, there's an option to grapple with two different texts and they choose which one makes sense to them just because they know what's best for them as learners. And so offering the opportunity for them to decide helps to really allow them to be more engaged in whatever they're doing, I think.
And it's not just this stand and deliver
and
share the content, right? You're giving them a chance to either read about it themselves, do some kind of processing with a group to come to the understanding of whatever the content is so that they can apply it.
Yeah, I think another thing, because I think as we talk about this and I'm listening, a lot of these theories or principles rather, are things where I'm well, I would do that with students too. I would also, I also think that kids need to know the why. And so I think a little bit for adults, what comes to mind for me as also important is that transfer and the fact that they're coming in with knowledge already. Not to say that our students aren't, right? But like when we have adult learners, we never enter the room with the assumption that they're blank slates and they know nothing about the topic and have never had other experiences with it, right? Like they might have background knowledge that aligns with it. And I just think adult learning theory really leans heavily on knowing your audience and using those other principles to guide you in a different way than you would for students who maybe have never learned in the past, I don't know, what alliteration is or what a metaphor is, right? Because it's brand new information to them. So I don't know. That's just kind of something that comes to mind for me.
It's funny that you say that because as I was hearing all of us say those things, I was like, well, this is like this difference between pedagogy and andragogy. But I would see those things we've talked about as best practices with students. And a difference that could be is that we teach students how to make those choices because they're learning about themselves as a learner, where adults come to us already knowing how they like to perceive information or engage with content. It's those universal design for learning principles and putting those into place, but providing the choice so that adults can make the choices that best fit their needs.
Yeah, I think it also relates to ensuring there's ample time for reflection. So providing some pause points throughout a meeting or throughout a professional development, maybe it's 5 minutes of quiet time to, or even 5 minutes to turn and talk, if you will, to ensure that there's space for conversation, space for reflection and jotting of notes, just so that there's an opportunity to synthesize it and really make it their own too. I think that matters a lot.
Yeah, I like to use the STEM based on your experiences. Where are you at in your thinking? Or
Yes.
what might you do to move forward to bring that experience piece in as well during that reflection time?
Yeah.
All right. So if you have an upcoming professional development or a meeting that you're planning and you want to consider a little bit more some of these principles of adult learning, we're going to share 2 resources with you. One is the Malcolm Knowles article that dives a little bit more deeply into his principles, and will also direct you to where you can read more about Elena Aguilar's work. And you can find those resources on our Instagram account, which is at FCPS_PD. And also, if you are listening and you're an FCPS staff member, then you can now access those resources through the new Atlas page. So if you go to Atlas and search for PD on the Go, you'll be able to find the resources there as well. So thank you for listening, and we hope you join us next week for some more PD on the Go.